Start.
Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everybody. This is the October 22nd, 2025 Regional Housing Council meeting, and we can go ahead and kick it off with some introductions. I'm Emily Klaus, Thurston County Commissioner for District 5, and I'm joined here by several staff. I'm going to kick it over to Carolyn for Lacey.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Cox, representing the City of Lacey. We have with us today our alternate member, Council Member Nicholas Dunning, as well as Planning Manager Ryan Andrews and Housing Coordinator Jennifer Adams. So welcome, Lacey team.
Thanks, Carolyn. Let's go over to Tumwater.
Joan Cathy, City of Tumwater, and right now I believe I'm the only one from Tumwater here, unless Brad Medford is somewhere else. There he is, and the two of us are the Tumwater team today.
Great, welcome. I also see Erica Smith Erickson. It looks like you have a Tumwater logo on your background.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
sorry about that. It's also, we're expecting our new deputy director, Sharon, to be joining us as well. So just, she's not quite here yet, but I expect her to be on shortly.
Perfect, thank you. All right, how about Danny for Olympia?
Hi all, Danny Madrone with the Olympia City Council, and I see that I'm joined by some staff, Kim Kundrat, Jacinda Stelgis, Krista Lenson, and I think that's it.
Great, thanks, Danny. Do we have anyone from Yelm?
Hello, Gary Cooper, Planning and Building Manager for Yelm. Looks, at least for now, team of one. I'm not sure if Councilor Johnstone will be attending or not, so we'll just have to wait and see. Thanks.
All right.
A small but mighty team, Gary.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here, Gary. And I see we have some of our advisory board members. Meg.
Hi everyone, Meg Martin, Chair of the Affordable Housing Advisory Board.
Thanks for joining us, Meg. Am I missing anyone? Do we have any other advisory board members? Alrighty, I'll take that as a note. So thank you everyone so much for being here. We can move on to the next action, which is approval of the September 24 meeting minutes. Do we have a motion?
I'll move approval of the minutes. This Carolyn.
I'll second.
I would like to make just one friendly amendment to the minutes. I see that under Olympia we have Vanessa Dolby ? Listed. So, you know, as these get formalized, if we could just put her to Lacey, maybe with an exclamation point instead of a question mark.
Thanks, Danny. So let's see, if we want to amend the minutes, do we need an amended motion to make that change?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So then we're looking for an amended motion, and
I move to amend the motion to incorporate the change I just articulated.
thank you. Is there a second to that amendment?
I'll second it again.
Great. Any further discussion on the meeting minutes? All right, and then I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you. So moving on to the next item on our agenda, public comment. Tom, do we have anybody for public comment?
We do not have anyone sign up for public comment, but if there's any attendees who would like to make public comment, if you could raise your hand, we can promote you to allow for public comment. I'll just give it a couple seconds. I'm not seeing any raised hands. It does not appear we have any public comment this evening.
All right, great, thank you. And did we receive any written comment?
No, we did not.
Perfect. Thank you. Alrighty, so moving on to the next item, we have advisory board nominations, and for this one, I will hand it over to Alex.
Great, thank you so much. My name is Alex Purse. I'm the Affordable Housing Program Manager for Thurston County and one of the staff liaisons for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. So every year, starting in January, if necessary, we recruit new members to join both the Affordable Housing and the Homeless Services Advisory Board. So today we're bringing the request to the RHC to approve appointments of recommended TAHAB and HASAB members, and also to approve term renewals for several existing members on those boards who are requesting to renew their terms, which is allowed by the RHC charter for one time. So just a little bit of background, we have applications for each board were made available to the public on August 11th and closed on August 25th. We have an advisory board recruitment subcommittee who reviewed the applications, prioritized applicants with lived experience, housing instability, and who are also overrepresented in the homeless services system, and then who also represented specific sectors that each board were seeking. Interviews were conducted on September 10th and 12th, and new member recommendations were approved by both advisory boards separately at their September meetings. We had 9 individuals applied to the TAHAB. They interviewed 6 of them, and 4 are currently being recommended to the board. Those 4 are Britt Pomash, Isabella Morocco, Alex Barclay, and Chris Wells. I do have some background on the information of each of those candidates in the staff report that's in the agenda, and also happy to answer questions about that after I'm done. But appointment of the 4 of these members will bring the TAHAB advisory board to 12 members total. So we had 14 individuals apply to the HASAB. They interviewed 7 applicants, and at this time, 5 applicants are being recommended to the board. So those recommendations are Garrett Leonard, Sophie Blake, Harry Ann Ellis, Amelia Mott, and Rebecca Hutchinson. I also think that we have a lot of these people that are being recommended in our audience. So thank you all for attending this meeting. Well, lastly, we have Meg Martin and Grace Lee, who would like to renew their terms for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, and Joshua Cheney and Candace Garman, who are requesting to renew their terms for the Homeless Services Advisory Board. I'm happy to answer any questions or go into more detail if anyone would like it.
Thank you, Alex, for the background. And I see the proposed solution is in the agenda is to appoint all of those members. So then that would take care of all the vacancies, and you would be able to appoint all the recommended representatives. Is that right?
Correct.
Perfect. Are there any questions for Alex?
Not a question, but Chair, since this has got several different pieces to it, do you want separate motions or one extremely long motion?
Well, I think my recommendation would be to, whoever would like to make the motion could motion to approve the proposed solution, so you don't have to read all the names. Or we could do it separate if that's the will of the council, but I think a motion could be relatively simple. Is there a motion for this item?
I'd like to, but I'm struggling a little bit about how to word it. So like how do we identify whose recommendation is this? Is this Alex's, or is this a staff recommendation, or how do we want to frame that?
I'm happy to read the motion that's in the staff report here. I think that would take care of it.
Okay, Danny.
Yeah, I move to approve appointments of recommended TAHAB, sorry, I don't know how to say the acronyms eloquently, and HSAB members and term renewals for existing members.
Thanks, Danny.
I'll second that.
All right, great. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I appreciate these people stepping up, and I'm glad to hear there was so much interest. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And Joan, I saw you come off mute. Did you want to make any comments? No? Okay. Any other further discussion? All right. then I will go ahead and call for the vote. We do have quite a packed room, so if you are a voting member, I would ask that you raise your hand so I can see you at the front of the list here and say aye.
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 Thanks. Thank you, Carolyn. Are there any opposed? All right, then that motion passes unanimously. Thanks, everyone. And congratulations and welcome to the new members.
This,
All right. So moving on to the next item, we have a Percival Creek update from the city of Olympia. And am I passing this one over to Kim?
I think Susan McLaughlin is here to speak to that.
I
Okay.
am for that. You guys ran through that quite quickly, so I'm just trying to get everything up on my screen. Hello, my name is Susan McLaughlin, Community Planning and Economic Development Department Director. And if you just bear with me for a second, I'm just going to pull something up on my screen. So as many of you may have heard, the city of Olympia was engaged in approximately, over the course of the last month, and longer, but the last phase of the Percival Canyon encampment closure. This is part of a 16-month effort to close the entire homeless Percival Canyon encampment. This has been done in collaboration and with partners, but also with the Department of Commerce funding, which was critical to get unhoused individuals within Percival Canyon into housing as much as we possibly could within our means. And then, so over the course of the last month and most recently, we were able to take the by name list, and after notifying closure, we took the by name list and searched for individuals on that list to offer available housing. We were able to house all the individuals that we could find on the by name list. And then in addition to, we extended the encampment closure for one additional week to accommodate ADA requests that had come in collaboration with the Northwest Justice and OLIMAP. And so as many folks on this call know, this is part of our One Community Plan with an interest of closing encampments, but with a housing first policy to offer housing. And at the very moment, we are finalizing the cleanup. I think even as of today, with WSDOT in that space as well, finalizing some of the cleanup efforts that have been happening over the last week plus. I am happy to answer any questions on this, but in general, that's our update.
Thanks, Susan. And Kim, did you want to add anything? All right, I saw.
DOT just has another day or two left to finish the portion under the bridge. But yeah, they've finished our section about an hour ago.
Oh, excellent.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you both for the update. Are there any questions for Susan and Kim? Or comments? I see County Manager Leonard, go ahead.
Hey, thanks so much. I just want to commend City of Olympia for their communication and coordination through this process. The county really appreciates the outreach that they've done, and the continued updates are super helpful for us and our team, and we forward that to our Board of County Commissioners who care deeply about this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, County Manager. And I echo the sentiments. We do appreciate the collaboration. And yeah, thanks for your work on this. Are there any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
I will say, I know that these situations can be very, very challenging. There's a lot of community feedback. We've received a lot of community feedback at the county, and some of the feedback includes a desire from community members to see a more coordinated response when it comes to the by name list. And sometimes folks appear or come back, come to the location after the by name list is created, which can cause discrepancies in numbers. And so numbers reported to me surpassed the numbers that were reported from the city. And so there were a little bit of discrepancies there. Could you possibly speak to that at all? Do you know if the folks that were not on the by name list were offered housing?
Go ahead, Susan.
But Kim, I was just going to speak generally, and then you can fill in those specifics. So our protocol is that obviously once we close the by name list and search for those individuals, and those individuals are offered housing, then we do initiate closure. In this instance, we worked with Northwest Justice on additional ADA accommodations, as I previously mentioned. After that time, when additional individuals come into that space and they are not on the by name list, the city really doesn't have the resources at that stage to accommodate housing for them. Now, again, I want to stress what you said, Emily. This is extremely frustrating, and it can be, it's not ideal for city staff as well, but it is within our protocol, and it is in the interest of making sure that we are addressing our encampments with housing options, and we're going to turn our attention next to the jungle.
Okay. And with the jungle, I know that's a really large encampment. Do you have any plans in the works for how you'll coordinate that response with partner jurisdictions? I know it's in Olympia's jurisdiction, but considering the size of the encampment, I'm just wondering if you've had conversations about how you might coordinate that response.
Absolutely. And I think, we really do think now that Percival's nearly closed and clean, that this city can have the capacity and the resources to really focus on a solution for the jungle. But that cannot happen without our regional partners and without the collaboration of the RHC and communication through this body. So what we're doing now is we did kind of an internal team kickoff to develop a general work plan. Once we have that general skeleton put together, we do anticipate socializing that and really expanding that roundtable of partners to take a look at that work plan, fill in the gaps, and really come up with a unified approach for the jungle.
Thank you. I appreciate that update. That's really good to have the heads up. Do you know what the timeline looks like for that?
We're hesitant to put a timeline until we put the work plan together. So we don't want to set unrealistic expectations. So we hope to have kind of that range soon.
Okay, thank you. I'll look forward to an update. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Kim, I see your hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back a little bit to Percival because I know that you had the question about the numbers, but I just wanted to remind everyone that we had only just taken over the outreach and the placing of people after Olymap's contract ended. And so we took it over from July. So the by name list had already been closed, and we followed the same procedure of finding all the people on the list and placed everyone we could. And my team was out there multiple times a week looking and searching for folks. And so, so all the people that were found afterwards were people who were not on the by name list, and we are limited with the definition with Commerce, with the encampment resolution program, that only the people on the by name list who are on the row who are designated that can be placed there. And so we were accommodating further reasonable accommodations. So we did address that, but so all of those folks were people who came after the by name list was closed.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Meg, I see your hand.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, my question for Susan is that I know that everybody did as much as they could to try to help folks with Percival, but we know that there were not nearly enough housing options for the number of people that needed it. And so with the work plan for the jungle, knowing that many of those folks from Percival ended up in the jungle since it's the only encampment really anymore in the community, is there going to be part of the work plan to include additional housing units and shelter units for placement for people? And if so, I would assume that means that the timeline will probably be like a many-year approach.
Yeah, no, that's the challenge. And I think, everyone on this call understands it, that with reduce federal resources with reducing state resources and funding for shelters and brick and mortar solutions. We recognize that that's going to challenge our strategy of getting unhoused into housing. However, that's our commitment. That's where we're starting. That's our starting point to develop the work plan. And there's going to have to be alternative A, B, and C. There's going to have to be different alternatives in how we approach it. And that may have varying timelines. I'm being vague because we are literally just scratching the surface on this and recognizing as we map out what are the challenges, but what are the opportunities as well? What are, understanding our partners, and pooled funding, what resources do we have available to us? So sorry for the vague answer, but essentially we are still committed to our housing first strategy through the One Community Plan. And that's how we're approaching this.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Meg, for your question. Thank you, Susan. I guess the only thing I want to add is I just want to invite the City of Olympia to please engage with the Regional Housing Council as much as you need to. This is a really great group of folks. We have people with lived experience and providers in this group. And if you need us to help with the coordinated effort, or you'd like to just kind of bounce ideas off the council, there are definitely some great minds in the virtual room here. So please don't hesitate to reach out and we can get you on the agenda anytime.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other questions on this item or thoughts? All right. Thank you so much, Susan and Kim, for the update. All right. So we'll move on to the next item, which is the RHC 2026 legislative priorities, and I will hand it over to you, Tom.
All right, thank you. Actually, we're going to do a quick encampment resolution program update first.
Sorry about that.
Nope, that's all good. So just briefly, because we really want to set up a future conversation, not looking to engage in the conversation this evening because we have a full agenda. But the Board of County Commissioners was talking the other week, looking at the future of encampment resolution program funding, and particularly guidance and information we received from Commerce, indicating that it's likely that they're not going to be looking to fund the Quinn Street Village and perhaps Unity Commons in next year's budget. So looking to have a conversation in the coming months here at the RHC around how to fill those funding gaps for those projects, as the ERP funding may get shifted around to other priorities depending on Commerce's kind of focus as we move forward. So really just want to give everyone the heads up to anticipate conversations in future RHC meetings as we look to fill funding gaps under the ERP program for the new year, as that new year will be here before we know it.
Thank you, Tom. And sorry, I missed that one on the agenda. Are there any questions on this item?
Did you say Quince Street would not be funded?
Potentially,
Okay.
is what we're hearing from Commerce.
Okay.
So it's nothing definite, but we want to be proactive and think about that possibility if it does happen.
Danny, I see your hand.
Yeah, appreciate the update, Tom, and appreciate the proactive nature of the conversation. That's something I've been asking for, like as we see these big holes in the system that are on the horizon or here right now. I think another part of our proactive strategy is continuing to engage with Commerce to help them understand how this is part of a whole system here on the ground that we've been running for quite a while now, and engaging with our local delegation so that they can support us in those conversations.
Yeah, thanks, Danny. And I do appreciate you raising this point often. I think, yeah, proactive approaches are much needed, especially in times like this where everything is so uncertain. So I appreciate the update, Tom. Are there any other questions or thoughts on this item? It sounds like we'll be hearing more as more information comes in. So I will look forward to future discussions on this item as well. All right, so moving on. Now we are on the legislative priorities.
Yes, thank you. All right, so in your packet, again, just starting the conversation, this is going to be a conversation that probably happens over the next several meetings as well. In your packet, and I will share my screen just so everyone has that handy. We've wanted to start thinking about legislative priorities for the upcoming legislative session, which we know is a shorter session. So we've listed what was in last year's RHC's legislative priorities from 2025. Several of these were addressed last year. And so the tech team has started doing some brainstorming on possible priorities for the coming year. So there's 4 we're throwing out and really just looking for some initial feedback. Are there any priorities not listed here that you think is really important that you want to elevate? Or are there any of these that you think are particularly important? Given the funding climate, first priority is really preventing a clawback of funding for a couple projects, including the ERP funding, the Boulevard Habitat for Humanity project, and Maple Court PSH conversion, just to make sure that funds that have been allocated those projects aren't lost. There's also a possibility of one of the things that came up during tech team was seeking an amendment to the RCW that authorizes the local home fund to allow for more flexibility to use those funds to pay for eligible services. Currently, the legislation caps the amount that can go to services to 30%, with 60% that must be used on capital projects and then 10% for admin. So there's a request to provide some more flexibility so additional funding could go to services to help fill some of the funding gaps. Third is around seeking clarification to the Residential Tenant Landlord Act, specifically around operators and clients in homeless shelters or tiny home villages, whether they're subject to the RTLA. There's some current litigation around this topic. So there was a jurisdiction that requested we get clarification on that. And then finally, looking for support for the CHIP program or Connecting Housing to Infrastructure program to make sure that program is fully funded as well. That is a really important source of grant funding from the state to support infrastructure that is needed in conjunction with affordable housing development. So those are the 4 ideas that the tech team came up with. So we wanted to share those with you, get some initial reactions, have some initial discussions tonight, see if there's anything missing, and then we can flesh out the ones that seem of most interest to the council and bring those back at your November and December meetings for further discussion and approval.
Perfect. Thank you, Tom. Are there any questions? Would anyone like Tom to keep the screen up? I think, Tom, if you could keep it up for the discussion,
Sure.
that might be helpful. And I think some folks might be participating on their phones. So if you're able to zoom into the document to make it a little bigger on the screen, that would be awesome. I appreciate you. Danny, I see your hand.
Hi, thanks for working on essentially giving us something to react to. I agree that with the funding priorities, it's more about preventing funding that has already been allocated from being clawed back. I don't expect there will be a lot of extra funding flying around this coming session. So I agree with that for number 1 and number 4. I'm curious about to learn a little bit more about 2 and 3. One of the things that I'm curious about for 2 is that at the time that Olympia passed our home fund at the ballot, was that limitation, that 30% limitation on operations in place then, or was that added later when the legislature amended that RCW? Do you know off the top of your head?
I do not know off the top of my head. The current legislation has that in there. I don't know what the legislation, I don't know.
Okay. I mean, it may be worth looking into because there might
Yeah.
be more flexibility with Olympia's share of the home fund. So that's just one thing that comes to mind. And then number 3, are we certain that clarification is needed? Like, is there some ambiguity in the Residential Tenant Landlord Act that is leading people to the conclusion that these regulations apply to homeless shelters or tiny home villages?
So I'm not a lawyer, and so my understanding is that there is currently a lawsuit that is being brought to indicate that enhanced shelters are subject to the Residential Tenant Landlord Act. And so I know Commerce is looking at this, and this was a request also from one of the jurisdictions to seek greater clarity, because I know there are lawsuits in place. But I see the county manager and Kim might have more insight.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tom. Council member, there's a current conversation. Oh,
Sorry about that. I was on mute. Sorry to cut you off, County Manager. I just wanted to say thanks, Tom, for your answers, and thank you, Danny, for the questions. And sorry, go ahead, County Manager.
yeah, just in response to council member's question, there are questions that even Lehigh is asking that they need clarity. I think it's called Northwest Justice is disputing our ability to trespass folks when they clearly violate the code of conduct. The city of Lacey has been issued litigation, I believe. I don't want to speak for them, but in our conversations with the city manager, we believe that's happened. And so that's, I think, the impetus for some of the clarification, so that we're all on the same page, that we really want folks to be housed. But if they are violating the code of conduct, that then there's clear things that can be done so that we can have safe environments.
Thank you. And it looked like Kim had something to add, so I wanted to give her a chance to do that before I finish the thought.
Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, just where it's a real life example, what's happening in our community is that like we are not, because of how we have interpreted the law, our police are not able to exit someone just because of a violation of code of conduct, because this is their housing. So we now have to go through the whole eviction process in order to ask someone to leave. And all of us who have done homeless response work for so long, the last thing we want to do when someone is in crisis is to add a legal eviction on their record. But however, where they are in their state of life may pose either a threat to other people living on the site. So what has come up is that through this change in the law, our providers, our tiny home village providers, because anything with a lockable door, have not been able to exit people, but yet they still need to have some sort of action. We can't just have people who are, I guess the terms of the language, and again, I'm not a lawyer either, is, how it affects the rest of the site. But because when one faith community was trying to exit someone, they got a letter saying, hey, you have to, you can't just exit them, you have to do an eviction. And so this faith community, who is only just trying to do, house people for the good, but then they do have requirements how to stay there, and they're not trained like we are working with folks in crisis, and they just close the entire village. And so this is where, because people are not understanding this and they're wanting to help, but they are also not equipped with their own lawyers to be able to do this. So there's a lot of confusion there and fear, I would say, and we don't need to lose more units, especially now. So.
Yeah, okay, I appreciate that, Kim. So I appreciate all the additional context. I think that 2 and 3 on here are, potentially, you never know, but potentially quick fixes that can happen in a short legislative session. But I do think that we would want to engage our local delegation sooner rather than later to see, because both of them will need a bill sponsor. And the longer it takes for us to come around to a place of finalizing everything and then who's on task to try to get this on the radar of a legislator that is willing to sponsor a bill, ideally somebody from our local delegation. We might the clock is ticking is all I'm saying, and there will be a bill required for both 2 and 3, but like I said, potentially quick fixes that could be done in a short session. I don't have anything to add to our list. I just know that we've got a short session coming up, and legislators are going to be extremely bogged down with a lot of budget discussions. So I think anything that we would want to have on our list should be quick fixes that help us address our situation on the ground here.
Thank you, Danny. I appreciate your questions. Are there any other questions or comments on this item? Any suggestions? And thank you, Leonard. I appreciate you providing that additional context. That's helpful. I have a couple comments I wanted to say. You know, the county currently is working on finalizing our 5-year homeless housing plan, and we just had our public hearing on that this week and received some feedback. We have a lot of written comments, and some folks came in to give verbal testimony at our public hearing this week. And some of the feedback we received indicated a desire and a need for some lower barrier housing options. And so I'm just kind of wondering how the feedback we're receiving, and I don't know if other jurisdictions are also receiving feedback around this time from folks, but I'm kind of curious to see how that feedback is incorporated in other actions that we might take, such as the legislative priorities. So I know that our staff will be bringing forward an update on the homeless housing plan to the Regional Housing Council here pretty soon. So that could potentially be a conversation that we have. I just kind of wonder if we are requesting some of these priorities like number 3. I want to acknowledge that I do appreciate the consideration for other residents who may be at shelters or tiny home villages and how they might be harmed by unresolved tenant-landlord relations. I know that that can create some uncomfortable situations, but I also want to make sure that if we are exiting folks for violating codes of conduct, that we have alternatives in place so that we're not displacing people, especially as we go into discussions about the jungle and how to handle that. So just kind of some thoughts that are salient on my mind because of recent comments that we received this week. Are there any other questions on this item or any other suggestions for priorities? And I know we'll have more opportunities to talk about this, so I appreciate all the input we've had so far. All righty. So then, oh, Danny, go ahead.
Just a quick like next steps on this. So it sounds like you know, for one, you know, staff, do you have what you need for the next step? And 2, what is that next step?
So I think for us, the next step is tech team will come back and look to flesh out some of these a little bit more and come up with that next step kind of process that we'll bring it back to you at your November meeting.
Okay.
So we're looking for that guidance. We have it. We can kind of flesh these out and then figure out the path forward.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. All right, so we can move on to the next item. And that is our discussion on the mission and values. So we have the wonderful Amy Lineker here to help facilitate this conversation. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Amy. I do want to say, once again, as we go into discussions related to our retreat that we had earlier this year, I really value all the feedback we've gotten. I think we've had some really robust discussions and we're getting to a really, really good point as we kind of wrap up this process, and everybody who's provided thoughts, contributed to the conversation, and engaged have been the reason why we are here today and why we've accomplished so much. So I invite folks from our advisory boards to comment and just participate as much as you'd like. We can kind of keep it a little more casual and just raise your hand or chime in as you'd like when we move into this discussion. And with that, I will turn it over to Amy.
Excellent. Thank you. It's so nice to see all of you. Thank you for having me. The first thing I'm going to invite you to do is open up a window on your laptop, or if you're using your phone, you can use the QR code. And I just need you to log into menti.com. So the instructions are right up here on the screen. If you just type in menti.com on your laptop, it's going to ask you to enter in a code. And that code is right here on the screen. If you're using a phone instead, you can just use the QR code. So 2 ways to get you there.
Amy, it says waiting for presenter. So there's no spot to enter a code.
Oh, well, that's odd because I'm presenting. Hold, please. Let's see here. Okay.
Oh, now it's here.
Oh, now you're good? Okay. Let me see if I can right size it too. Oh, let's see here. Okay. How's that, Danny? Are we back?
Now it's back to waiting for presenter.
Oh, I wonder. Okay, hold please. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm getting a "you're all set, waiting for presenter"
Okay, let me
message too.
stop the share here. Let's try again. Oh, Erica, hi. Do you have a question?
No, it's if you've used Mentimeter before, it's just waiting for the actual presentation to start. It's giving people a chance to log in if you haven't used it before. But if you've
Oh,
used the app before, you probably are good to go. You don't have to enter in the code. So it just like auto signed us up or like
oh,
got
okay.
us, yeah.
Thank you.
So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Erica, will you come to every meeting with me for the rest of my life?
I only know because I went to the APA conferences a few weeks ago, so.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's try it. And along with any technology, if it doesn't work, we've got a plan B. But I would love to be able to use it so that we can crowdsource as many of your ideas in this short amount of time. Oh, good. Look at all of the thumbs up. So apparently it's working. When we were together over the summer, it's been a long time since I've been with you. You might remember I had asked you this question. I had said, outside of work, what's one good thing that's happening for you? And I would love it if you would just type in your response. It can be something small, it can be something big, just something that feels joyful to you. Outside of work, what's one good thing? All right, we've got someone who's still alive. That is a good thing. That's a very good thing. Sunshine, yes. Kids when they're not fighting, said every parent ever. That's perfect. Seattle Sounders, absolutely. Reminded of wonderful friendships. I redecorated my apartment. I've got a vacation coming up. Pro wrestling is cool again. We've got a daughter graduating, a dog. Someone's mentioned faith. This is great. So hopefully you're getting a chance to look at what you're seeing on the screen, because here's why. And I shared this with you over the summer. When you think about something good, your brain gives you a little surge of dopamine. And dopamine doesn't just help you feel good, though you're probably feeling good while you're reading these answers. It actually allows you to think clearer, and study shows it helps you make better decisions. So that's why I wanted to start here. It is 4:45 at night. How many of you have been on Zoom for about 67 hours in a row? Or it feels like you've been on Zoom for 67 hours in a row. So what we want to do is have a clear mind, be able to make good decisions, and this is one quick way to get there. So thank you. And it was really fun to celebrate all of these too. I love that we've got someone with a daughter who's about to graduate. That's really fun. Okay. Before we wrap up tonight, here are the 3 things we are driving for. The first one, we are going to celebrate you because you have all identified your vision statement. And if you're thinking, okay, yeah, big deal, we have a vision statement, it is a big deal. When I got to interview many of you one-on-one, this was a big piece that was missing, a clear, forward-focused vision of the RHC, and you've done it. So we're going to do that first. Secondly, we're going to dive into the mission and the values. Our goal is to leave here tonight with those either confirmed or those almost confirmed. So we're going to wrap them up on our last session together. And then the third thing we'll do before we leave is we'll talk about what can you expect when we're together next time. When we're together on November 12th, that's my last scheduled time with you. And the idea is then we're going to go into governance. We'll have a vision, a mission, and values, and then we can look at the governance questions that many of you mentioned. So give me any kind of emoji if you're on board so far. So raise your hands. Yes, you're here. You're alive, you're tracking. Okay, we know Tom is. That's a good thing. Okay, good. Oh, good. And hearts and Menti work just as well too. Okay. It's been so long since we were together. I wanted to just really quickly refresh us that the vision and mission and values serve 3 really different purposes for the RHC, and they work together. And in order to be the most effective, you want to have all 3 of them. The vision is it's the overall mission, or it's the overall vision of where are we going? Why do we exist? And with your mission statement, it's, well, what are we going to do? And your values are how you're going to get there. Since the summer, you have all identified your vision statement. And I wanted to just share it on the screen. I know you've all seen it. I know you've all confirmed it. But I think so often we move quickly through onto the next problem without pausing to celebrate all the good. So I just wanted to pause for a moment to say, you've got a vision, and I think that's really great. From this vision, now we can get into finalizing your mission and your values. Tom, I think you have a nice radio voice. Would you be willing to read the vision statement for folks?
Sure, I don't know, a nice radio voice. I appreciate that.
I think you do.
All right. Everyone in Thurston County has stable shelter or housing that they feel is safe and the services they need to thrive.
Excellent. Thank you. So with that, that's the spirit we're going to carry into the next conversation. Kevin, I want to pause. I see your hand. Do you have a comment, or I wonder if maybe that's left over from the hand raising exercise?
Actually, I pressed the wrong button trying to react.
Okay. Okay. Well, if you end up having something to share, please jump in. I'd love to hear what it is at any time. Okay, so let's look at the mission statement. I wanted to share with you some different methods of how the RHC can make decisions. What I have found in working with hundreds of groups is that where communication often breaks down is when a group isn't clear on what the method of decision making is going to be. Or maybe you start out thinking it's going to be one way. You start out thinking we're going to really strive for consensus, but you can't get there. And so the decision-making method changes, but not everybody knows that. That's why I wanted to ground us in these different styles of how the RHC can make decisions. Two things you can consider are risk and time. And based on those, that can help you decide which of these decision-making styles works the best. So far, what we're aiming for is consensus. Just like with the vision, ideally, we would have consensus around the mission, and we'd have consensus around the values. Recognizing, though, that we can't stay here forever. We can't, though I love all of you, and I would love to keep meeting with you, we can't keep doing it over and over and over. So at some point, if we can't get to consensus on mission, or we can't get there on values, that's when we would move to voting. Making sense so far? Yes. Okay, let's keep on going then. Here is your draft mission statement. And I was grateful that Sue got to work with all of you recently, where you got to hone this and refine it a little bit. Tom, can I turn it over to you one more time? What is the draft mission statement as of today?
All right. The Regional Housing Council leads a collaborative regional effort to increase affordable housing and housing stability and reduce homelessness in Thurston County by advising decision makers, advancing regional goals, and educating the public.
Excellent, thank you. When we sent out the survey, we had 17 responses. So thank you. If you were one of those 17, I really appreciate that you took the time to provide some feedback ahead of time. If you were unable to take the survey or missed the survey, it's okay. That's why we're having this conversation tonight, so that we can all come together. There were several comments and regarding the mission statement in the survey. So I wanted to share with you how the voting looked, how the voting turned out. And you can see that for the majority of folks, they said, yeah, that mission statement does work for me. That does reflect what I believe the purpose to be. But there were two folks who answered the survey who said, no, this doesn't reflect it for me. And there were three who said, I'm not sure. That's what we want to dive into this evening. And I wanted to provide some context. When survey respondents were able to offer open-ended comments, here were a few of them. The first one was, how does the RHC educate the public? that is part now of the mission statement. And I'm curious, Tom, would you be willing, or someone from your team, how does the RHC educate the public from your perspective?
I think the first thing we do is this past year, we've started an RHC quarterly newsletter. So this past year, that's been a primary source that we've really worked hard to develop. So that goes out quarterly that Elisa puts together. I would say that's a primary way. We also have social media posts. We do have a website, but we're really working on the newsletter as a primary vehicle for doing that.
Great, thank you. So I'm just going to get to the right slide. I hope we don't make you dizzy for a moment. So for folks who completed the survey, it was meant to be anonymous on purpose. So I don't want you to think you have to share if that was you. But I do think it's important for everyone to leave here today with a shared understanding around the mission and a shared understanding of, well, what does that mean to educate the public? So Tom, thank you for leveling that awareness around what that looks like. There was a second comment that it feels like the housing crisis requires more action than is currently in the draft statement. I wanted to open that up for conversation. Any thoughts or ideas about that as it pertains to your draft mission statement? Yes, Danny, hi.
Hi, I just wanted to offer that, there's vision, there's mission, there's values, and then there's often like actions and strategies associated with all of these statements that we're coming together around. So that's the first thought that pops into my mind. Now, can we add language to this mission statement that increases the sense of urgency and our dedication to the work? Absolutely. When it comes to, specific actions, I think that might live in a different, same body of work, but different place.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And for those who were able to complete the survey, hopefully you saw exactly what Danny is describing, where Tom had outlined some recommended strategies. It's the final slide you'll see tonight, because Danny just nailed it. The mission statement doesn't encompass everything. That's really where those recommended strategies and then the resulting work plans come from. Yeah, really good point. Susan, hi. What's on your mind?
I'm just going to make a recommendation that when we're talking about this, I know it's good to have the questions and the comments up, but also if we could see the mission statement for those of us who haven't memorized it, that way, that helps to cross-check the comments with the statement. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, happy to do it. Great suggestion. Anything else on that idea? All right, let's flip forward because there were a few of you that actually made suggestions. So if you'll notice, number 5 actually took a crack at adjusting it a little bit. Number 3 mentions that it feels like maybe the mission statement is a little bit too long. And I wanted to also share for number 4 that there was someone who said that it may be the mission, but they don't actually believe it accurately reflects what we do. And so I wanted to pause and create space if there's a conversation that anyone wants to have or needs to have around any of those remaining pieces that you see there. And we're not limited to just these comments. If you've got other comments or ideas about the mission statement, this would be the time to share those. Joan, I see your lips moving, but I don't think you're talking to me though. Is that right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Okay, so let's keep going. So with that draft mission statement, we want to move into how you're actually going to do it. And that's where your values come in. In the survey, there were, I think, 25 or some huge number of values that you could choose from. These were the top 5. And what we want to do now is talk about if these 5 values feel like the 5 values that you believe represent the work of the RHC. When you're thinking about a value, it's how you're approaching the work. It's what are the core beliefs of the RHC. I also noticed that if you choose to do these 5, there are several words that it creates. So in terms of making it easier for yourselves, if you wanted to, you could think of them in terms of trace or react, or I think react has sort of a negative connotation though sometimes when it comes to housing work. But let's pause and see if how do you believe these 5 stack up against with what you believe they should be. And the only open comment from the survey on values was the one you're seeing right now on the screen, which is where someone said that they don't think our communities have shared values. And when we met over the summer, one thing I encouraged you to think about was to think of yourself almost as a mini organization, that you're creating this umbrella under which RHC falls. And those shared values are really the glue that can hold the conversations together. And those shared values are what will allow you to do the work that will accomplish the vision and the mission. If you don't have values, then everybody's kind of doing it in their own way versus the shared values, the glue of coming together. So the 5 values are here on the screen. The question for you is, do you support that list of top 5? That would be yes, you would say collaboration, accountability, equity, transparency, and responsibility. Yeah, those 5 do feel like the RHC. No would be, let's talk some more. After we do this exercise, assuming or when we get to all yeses, then the work becomes, well, what do these values mean? Because these words can mean really different things to different people. So the next part of our night is, what do we want them to mean for the RHC? But the first step is, do we have the right 5? Did the survey data show what you believe to be the right 5? Okay, thank you to the 5 who voted so far. We'll give it a few more, maybe another minute or so to give everyone a chance to reflect and think. There are 24 of you logged in and only 7 have voted. So if you haven't voted yet, please take a moment to do that. All right, we're about halfway there. If you're having trouble voting or something's not working, let me know and I would love to help. Hi, Commissioner Klaus.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say, I forgot to mention this in the beginning, but I want to offer a friendly invitation for folks to turn their cameras on, like we did last time. And I totally understand if you can't, if you're in a situation where you can't have your camera on, that's totally okay. But if you're able to, it would be great to see all your wonderful faces, to try to kind of simulate an environment where when we were in person, we were able to engage a lot easier. So if you could turn your camera on, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, that's great. All right, we're still missing some folks, so I'm just going to do a random roll call so to see if you've had a chance to vote. So Danny, have you been able to?
Yep.
Joan? Joan, were you able to vote? Not yet? Okay, Carolyn?
Yes.
All right. Leonard? Yes. Meg? Thank you. Jennifer? Yes. All right. Brad?
Yes, I have.
Thank you. We're still missing 9 of you. Nicholas?
Yes.
Ryan? Looks like we might have lost Ryan. Jen? Might have lost Jen. Vanessa?
I'm driving, so just listening.
Okay, good. Yes, no, you stay safe. All right, so it sounds like the folks who can vote have voted. So let's talk about what we're seeing. We're almost there. So what I'd love to do, I'd like to hear from the individual who said no. Share with us why. Help us understand so that we can take the next step. The no vote, where are you? I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know if that was an error. I don't know if you're not comfortable saying you were the no vote. I'm not sure how to read that. Okay, well, here's what I would say as your facilitator, that a no doesn't help the group know what to do differently. So if you're feeling uncomfortable sharing in front of the larger group, then actually they can't use chat though, right? Leah, we don't have the chat capability, so they're not able to do that. So if you were the no vote, I am going to encourage you to share with your colleagues where the no came from. What is it that would move you from a no to a yes? Because consensus was the goal. That was always the desired goal of our decision-making method. If we can't get there, of course, we've got the majority rules vote as our backup. So one final shot, the person who voted no, would you like to share with us why that was, or what would move you to a yes? All right, so absent that then, team, I'm going to move forward as if these are your 5 values. And let's start diving into what each of these 5 values mean. And as we're moving through them, again, please, if you were the no vote, jump in, because I would love to be able to understand more about what that was. So let's start with the first value of collaboration. When you hear the value of collaboration in the context of the work of RHC, what does that mean to you? What would that actually look like? Let's talk about the specific behaviors of what it would look like to collaborate. What are your thoughts? Yes, Commissioner Klaus.
Thank you. And you can call me Emily.
Oh, Emily, yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
no worries. I'm thinking like in terms of collaboration, so you're just asking us to kind of define what that means for us, right?
Yep.
Well, I have a lot of thoughts, but I think I'll just name one
Okay.
for now so that other folks can talk. But in terms of collaboration, I think engagement during meetings would be a really great place to start. I know some folks in the meeting, members and non-voting members, have expressed that sometimes they don't quite feel comfortable talking during meetings. Some folks have kind of mentioned that like it's uncomfortable to talk in a meeting that's being recorded and posted online and it's going to be there forever and people don't want to say the wrong thing. So if we could kind of collectively as a group figure out how to alleviate that barrier, I think that it would be a really great step in the right direction.
Excellent, thank you. Carolyn, and Tom, just so you know, I'm taking notes on these too. So after this evening, what I will do is I will take all of your different comments and I'll put them into a 1-sentence statement to follow each of these 5 values. So Carolyn and then Leonard. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi. First, a request. Could somebody send each of us copies of the draft mission statement and the vision statement, just so we all have them after the meeting, because I don't want to wait a month for minutes. Okay,
Tom,
but
is that something your team is able to send out?
Yes, we will send that out.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And then in terms of collaboration, the first thing that came to mind was that we plan together.
Mm-hmm. Anything more specific, Carolyn, in terms of what that looks like or what that means to you? And no is an okay answer.
Well, I could tease it out a little bit. I mean,
Okay.
we plan for how we're going to address funding shortages. We plan for how we're going to deal with, conversion, well, hopefully creating more permanent supportive housing, conversion of house, just the whole gamut of what we do. It's like,
Great.
yeah, jointly planned.
Thank you. Leonard, what's on your mind?
Thank you so much. I think that when we're speaking about collaboration, sometimes it's hard when folks are coming into an established group where there are a lot of things at work, and in government, it's a bureaucratic process, and they have a different of opinion because it's hard to say that they to figure out where to provide a counter perspective, and how to have that dialogue and where to unpackage that. So even like on the no vote, I mean, if everyone's voting yes, do you really want to be the person that looks like an obstructionist to come off, off mute and say, yeah, I think this sucks, or I don't like this. And as Commissioner Klaus said about it being recorded, and then there being, as there's politicians and electeds here, there could be political fallout for that. So I think it's, for me, sometimes when there's no one talking, that's a bad sign, or when there's no one engaged. And I think that there's work we have to do to prep conversations so that we can hear pro and cons to what we're doing, and allow voices to say, well, is this really the best direction? The other thing is that there's the county and different cities, and sometimes our visions align awesome, and it's magic when that happens, but it's okay when it doesn't align. And sometimes it's hard are we ready to have that conversation before texts start to fly and people start to get report outs about, well, why is this person saying this? In order for us to have a really good process and ultimately a good system, we have to open doors for people to come and challenge the status quo and ask questions about, why are we doing this, or what's the basis for this, or what's the data that supports this? So I appreciate you asking those questions, and thanks for allowing me to comment.
Yeah, thank you. And I love what you're describing. And I think this group did it so well when we were together in person over the summer. There was so much of, I'm not sure about that, and what about this, and how about that? And so I know you can do it. I've seen it as a group, and I think your call to action is really important, that when there's silence, that's worth really, really wondering why that is. Yeah, thank you for that. I worked with a team recently who had collaboration as one of their values, and they talked about it as they create better outcomes when they work together. That this idea of collaboration is that the sum of all of you is more, that there is something really unique about what happens when everyone is together. Danny, what's on your mind?
Yeah, when I think about collaboration, I love how Leonard described it in terms of like, in this space, in these meetings, what does collaboration look like? But I also think about it more broadly in terms of, when it comes to that vision statement that we've voted on and have approved, in this mission statement that we're working through, like, we're really dealing with a regional issue. And if we are not collaborating, things do not work well. And we have seen that in the past. We have seen what happens when one jurisdiction does another thing without informing another jurisdiction, or when they're straight up at odds on issues. And so that's what I think of when I think of collaboration. It's like, moving forward together, maybe not always in agreement on things, but at least agreeing to disagree.
Yeah. Thank you. Well said. And I think, Danny, it's also a beautiful segue to accountability, because I'm hearing some of that in what you're describing too, which is, are we going to hold ourselves accountable to do this in the way that we've all said we will? So thank you. Anything else on collaboration? Those were some really good ideas. As we're moving through these values, sometimes it's also helpful to think about what it's not. And I think, Danny, you just did that. You just said, well, here's what happens when we don't have collaboration. And that helps really define the value as well. Oh, sorry. Okay, let's look at accountability. What does accountability mean in the context of the RHC? We all know what the word means. We've probably all used it today. But what about it being a value, a core belief in how you're going to work together? Yes, Leonard, tell me your thoughts on accountability.
I think that I loved what Danny or Councilmember Madrone had to say.
Danny's great.
Oh, Danny, about we should strive to want to work together to get the best results.
Yeah.
For the people that need the service, but not being afraid to look at when the results might not meet our expectations, and be willing to then look at what strategies and actions may need to change as part of that.
Excellent. Thank you. Other thoughts on accountability? Danny, hi.
So what I think about the word accountability is, who are we being accountable to? Accountability to the people we serve. So those who are experiencing homelessness or housing instability, those are some folks that we should be accountable to. I think generally being accountable to the public, and part of that has, part of the draft mission statement there has like education in it. So helping the public understand, where we're at as a community, why we do the things we do, seeking feedback on how that could be different. All of that is part of accountability. And then I think about being accountable to each other in this room, especially as that ties to collaboration, and making sure that we're showing up, we're doing the work, we're expressing concerns when we have them, we are engaging with each other, and finding the best path forward on some really deeply entrenched issues for our community.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Other thoughts from folks we haven't heard from? What does accountability mean? Is it doing what you'll say you'll do? Is it course correcting quickly? Is it learning from mistakes? What does accountability mean to you? Yes, hi, Emily.
Hi, I don't think I have much to add because I love everything that's been said.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to emphasize one point that Danny mentioned about being accountable to folks who need housing. So folks who need the services that are being offered in the community, and those who are working to support them already, who have established that trust, like the service providers who are already embedded within those communities and very well trusted by the folks we're trying to serve. I think we should lean on that expertise more. Because a lot of us, we all mean well, and some of us have quite a bit of background in this work, but some of us don't, and we still are here because we care. So I think being aware of when it's time to lean on somebody who might know more than we do is important.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I just noted that. Anything else on accountability? All right, let's talk about equity. What does equity mean to you? And let's try something a little different this time. What I'd love for you to do, grab a piece of paper and a pen, or open up a window on your computer. I'm just going to give you 2 minutes to jot down your thoughts on what equity means to you, particularly if you just want a moment to get your thoughts together. So take about 2 minutes. What does equity mean to you in the context of the RHC? And then I'm going to invite you to share what you wrote down. So I'll check back with you in 2 minutes. would anyone like another minute to write? Yes,
Yeah.
okay, thank you for asking for what you need. Let's take one more minute. All right, let's talk about equity. What does that mean within the context of the R8C? Carolyn, hi, what are your thoughts? Thank you.
I wrote down creating opportunities for everyone to have housing.
Thank you. So you've got opportunities and everyone. That's what equity means for you. Thank you, Carolyn. Leonard, are you willing to share? What were your thoughts? And then we'll turn it over to Kaven.
Yep, I wrote down being fair and just with our services and resources to the people that need them the most.
Being fair and just. Thank you. I appreciate that because it's similar to what Carolyn was saying, but it's a little bit different. And I think this is the value of that conversation when we can add all of your different thoughts. Kaven, what would you add?
I'm realizing I might have gone a little off the rails, but
Okay.
equity in the context of the Regional Housing Council for me means that we have a diverse group of people with unique perspectives who are equipped with the knowledge and understanding of the needs, the understanding of the needs of our community to address those using those varied housing needs through a lens that adapts to the ever-changing landscape in which we operate.
Yeah, thank you. That was beautiful. So ever-changing landscape. Thank you. So a couple of things that really jumped out to me was that the group is diverse, the perspectives are unique. The experience is understood. And I heard that a lot over the summer of how this group needs to take the time to really understand that. So Kaven, thank you. I took very careful notes to include that. Emily, what's on your mind?
Thank you. So I mean, I wrote it down. I would maybe articulate it differently if I had more time, but here's what I wrote.
Okay.
I wrote everybody working to understand one another, actually doing the work and implementing new knowledge as we obtain it. A lifelong and constant journey of unlearning conditioned bias and behaviors that are rooted in a society that has never been created to help the most vulnerable members of our community.
Yeah. Whew. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. And it may be, Tom, I'm thinking about some of the follow-up work that we do after this. There may be an opportunity to pull even more after we watch a recording, I'm wondering. Yeah, okay. Meg, I'm wondering if you're willing to share your definition. You can certainly pass, but I would love to hear it if you're willing to offer it.
Yeah, I was just thinking that it's around centering the people with the most barriers and how we can create systems that serve them and then everyone benefits.
Yes. All right, centering the people with the most barriers, creating systems to serve them, and by doing that, everyone benefits. Thank you, Meg. I appreciate you. Anyone else willing to share? Joan, Danny, either of you? Yes. Hi, Danny. I see your hand.
Yeah, not to repeat things that have already been said, but one thing I think of, particularly when it comes to services and housing opportunities, with an equitable approach, we can't have a one-size-fits-all solution because we have lots of people in our community with very different needs, very different life experiences, and it's not going to be one size fits all. So we do need to have a diversity of solutions to support a diverse community.
Yes, thank you. Diversity of solutions. Yeah, thank you, Danny. Kevin, did you have another thought, or is that a holdover?
I keep forgetting to lower my hand.
That's okay. No worries. Let's see, Krista, would you like to share your definition with us?
Yeah, I guess my thoughts were more around like making sure that our actions and decisions don't exacerbate kind of the disparities or systems that create vulnerabilities and that oppress people. And so just being informed and knowledgeable about how we can ensure that we're not making things worse through our actions.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And it sounds like you're saying, Krista, both either intentionally or unintentionally, that it's about not doing. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
I understand.
thanks.
Great. I want to make sure we're creating space. If there's anyone else who wants their thoughts shared, I'd love to hear. All right, let's talk about transparency then. Transparency. Tell me about what happens if the RHC is not transparent. What's the risk of you not, if you are not transparent? What happens? Yeah, Carolyn.
People make assumptions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Thank you. What happens to trust if this group is not transparent? It plummets. Communication plummets. This is really, it's one of the cornerstones of how you're going to work together. So what does transparent mean? Is that everyone's telling everyone everything? What is it? What does transparency mean for the RHC? Jennifer, I haven't heard your voice yet. If you've got something to add, I'd love to hear. What does transparency mean to you in the context? And feel free to pass if you prefer.
Well, I didn't write anything down. I think from my perspective, it means being forthcoming about what resources we actually have. And then, the process towards allocating those resources. I think, that needs to just, remain in public view in order to uphold that transparency goal.
Thank you. So forthcoming about not just the resources, but how they get allocated. Thank you. Emily.
Yeah, thank you. I think one component of it is, kind of connecting back to earlier what county manager shared when he said that we should strive to work together to get the best results for people who need service, but not be afraid to see when results don't meet expectations and see it as a way to change our strategy to be more effective. And I thought that was really powerful. And I think transparency is that component of not being afraid to see when results don't meet expectations. We're not always going to get everything perfect. And if we admit that when we make a mistake and course correct and get feedback on how to do better, that's transparency. So I think, yeah, it can be scary to admit when things have been done wrong or when gaps are created by our efforts. Sometimes we do really, really good work, but we don't include everybody and we find out after the fact, and we can be proud of ourselves for doing good work and then maybe be blind to the gaps that are remaining. So I think, yeah, that's one component for me.
Excellent. Thank you. And it's counterintuitive sometimes. We feel like admitting mistakes is going to make people trust us less. But if we do what you said, if we admit we got it wrong, we course correct, it actually builds trust. It actually builds some of that goodwill back. Thank you for that. Danny, do you have any thoughts about transparency that you'd like to share?
I don't think I have anything that hasn't already been said.
Okay.
Just, I think that full participation in, important conversations is better for transparency.
Yep, absolutely. Sharon, I think I saw your hand go up and then down. Was there something on your mind?
Yeah, I'm a few days into my new job here at Tumwater. So pardon me if my comment is not well situated. I'm just listening for the first time, but maybe something about prevention displacement, like preventing displacement. We talked a lot about moving people out of homeless camps into housing, but also the prevention aspect of so people don't fall into homelessness. Again, not sure if that's fitting right in at the right moment, but.
And welcome to your new job.
Thank you.
Exciting.
Nice to meet everybody.
And when you think about the preventing of displacement, Sharon, so does that live in the values as a core belief, or do you feel like that lives in the strategy of things that we do, or maybe it lives in both? What's your thought about that?
Potentially could live in both. Potentially.
Okay, great. So I'll put it in there, and then the group can wrestle through that. Excellent. Thank you. Anything else on transparency? Yeah, Carolyn.
Hi, I think we need to look at transparency both within the Regional Housing Council itself, but then being transparent with the public, our constituents.
Excellent. And that is an ongoing theme for RHC, that it's things we do for others, how you're serving others, but also how you're working together. So thank you, Carolyn. I got that. I made a note of that. All right. Anything else? Then let's do the last one. The fifth one is responsibility. And we've talked about the mission. We've talked about what it is you're going to do, what you're responsible for. But what does responsibility mean to you as a value, as a belief, as a way to guide how you're going to work together? What does responsibility mean in that context? Let's take another, the writing down seemed to work with this group. It seemed like giving you time to put your thoughts together was effective. So let's try that again. Let's just take 2 minutes, jot some quick thoughts down around responsibility. What does that mean to you in terms of this RHC? And I'll see you in 2 minutes. Would anyone like another minute? Okay, yep, let's take it. Let's take 1 more minute. And just so folks know, I'm going to start with those of you who are off camera. So if your camera is off, I'm going to be asking you to weigh in first. So as you're writing. All right, team, as we come back together, Brad, can I start with you? Brad, what were your thoughts about responsibility in the lens of RHC?
There are multiple components to that. There's the responsibility as a representative from the jurisdiction or the organization that is participating in that and reflecting the values and the direction that has been set out for that. I think that's essential. I think responsibility includes everything from acknowledging that as part of the interlocal agreement that commitments have been made to address particular things and that we should work best to try to fulfill those responsibilities. Part of that also is being honest and open as a responsibility of saying this is what we can and this is what we cannot do. And if we cannot do something, we provide the important explanation of why. Obviously, this feeds back into transparency and other things. But I think responsibility is again just being up for open about this is exactly what we're doing and why, and also being sure that being open and about our ability to disagree and to explain why.
Excellent. Thank you. It brings us back, Leonard, to what you had said earlier, that willingness to talk about things when we're not all in agreement. So Brad, thank you for bringing us back to that. Let's see. Jen, are you there? Wonder if Jen might be driving. All right. How about Ryan? Ryan, are you with us? Hi.
I am. Hi, everybody. If you'd like to come to our planning commission meeting, it starts in about 28 minutes, so I got to scoot here pretty soon. But my thought on this is really related very much to accountability. I think there's a lot of parallels between responsibility and accountability.
Yes.
And this comes to mind primarily in terms of the funding responsibilities that the RHC has and the necessary requirements as a part of that to be fair and equitable. So that includes another thing on our list there when it comes to making responsible decisions and recommendations on the funding side of things. So that's the first thing that popped up into my mind.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And I appreciate that because often we think about responsibility as what's coming or what we're doing, and accountability is the after. We're holding ourselves accountable for that action and how they all go together. Thank you, Ryan. Really helpful. I'd love to open it up. Anyone else? Ideas around responsibility in addition to what you've heard already? Yeah, Meg. Hi.
Hi. I was just thinking about having the focus just be on responsibility to upholding the mission and the vision within your jurisdiction. Like, if that's what we're all here for, how are we taking responsibilities to do that, advocate for that, work towards that?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much. Danny, hi.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Meg said, like not just to our jurisdictions and our organizations, but also out in the community.
Yep. Excellent. Okay. Anything else? Susan, hi.
Hi, I think this is along the same lines, but I really think allocation of resources, again, I would ditto the mission and vision. I mean, that really is the intention of RHC. But when we think about pooling of resources, everyone has to do their share, right? In order to accomplish the goals. And so I think being responsible to allocate your resources and to follow through with your share of the responsibilities.
Excellent. Allocation of resources and follow through. Thank you, Susan. Emily.
Yes, thank you. Let's see. So I kind of was just taking notes as we were talking, and so mine got a little bit longer than it was at first. But so I first started out with a willingness to be vulnerable when necessary to get to an outcome that is best for the community. And then following through on commitments, which I think was just mentioned, but that includes commitments that are substantiated by documents such as proclamations, housing plans, comprehensive plans. We all have our housing chapter in the comprehensive plan. And so following through when we're putting something in writing, saying that we're committed to something, we really need to be following through with those commitments, showing up and engaging. And I kind of wanted to speak to something earlier that Brad said about being honest what we can do and what we cannot do. And I think that's really important. But I also think that it requires us to think about going one step deeper than that. If we can't do something and it's creating a gap in meeting the needs of the community, then I think responsibility is going a step deeper to find a solution, thinking outside the box and working together to get that can't to a can and will. So those are my thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you. And you're looping all of these together in some way, because what you're describing takes us to collaboration, because you can't live that without each other, and being transparent about how you do it. So thank you. I got all of that as I'm putting it together. Emily, when I send out the draft, you might see some of what you just shared might be in some of the other 5 values, but that'll give you something that you can react to and edit.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Excellent. Meg, I have a guess that your hand is left up from last time. I just want to confirm that because I don't want to miss it. Okay, all right. Okay. Anything else on responsibility? What that means? Excellent. So if you're wondering why do we have to do that? Well, here's why. Brene Brown's research shows that the vast majority of companies, councils, boards, commissions have values. Her research shows that fewer than 9% have operationalized them. And operationalizing a value is when you say, here's what that value means. Here's what it's going to look like. So what you're doing, what we're in the process of doing right now, fewer than 9% of organizations around the world have done. So thank you for hanging in there. We're not finished yet. I will put together a document that will list these 5 and what I heard all of you say. And then when we come back together on November 12th, you'll have a chance to look at that, reflect on that, see how close we got. Sound good so far? And you're not just saying that because it's 5:30 and you are desperate. Okay. Okay, good. So let's look at what's next then. When we are together on November 12th, our goal is to move into governance. And governance to me, and talking with each of you in those one-on-one interviews, there's 3 different components of the governance conversation on the 12th. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to finalize your agreements of how you are when you meet together. Remember, we did the we commit to not, we won't always get it right, and when we don't, you'll have an opportunity to look through those and see, are these the things we want them to be? When I first met many of you in the interviews, what I heard was that there wasn't a clear way of operating together. So if something happened in a meeting that you didn't like or you disagreed with, you weren't really sure what to do about it. That's where your meeting agreements will come in. It'll provide you a foundation of how to do that. We've been testing them out since the summer. So these aren't going to be new. These are things you've already created, but this will be your chance to say, we're taking them from just an idea, and now we're actually going to use them when we meet together. The second thing we're going to do on the 12th is we'll do some of the governance around operations. Some of you had questions about, well, what should the meetings look like? You wanted to talk about the governing structure. You might remember in the summer, someone said, well, are we operating like a legislative committee? Are we operating like a board? That's what we can talk about on the 12th. What is that governance structure? Is there anything else that you want to confirm around what that would look like? And then the third piece is going to be around strategies. Tom and his team had put together 6 strategies that they recommended be part of what the RHC works on. And in the survey that was sent out, the majority of the folks that weighed in agreed with the strategy, but there were some that didn't. You'll see on the slide, there were a few that were unsure, and there were some no's. So when we're together on the 12th, we'll come back and we'll talk about those. Tom, can I ask you to offer anything else on the recommended strategies, either how you develop them or what you'd like this group to be reflecting on?
No, I think this was really the tech team came up with these, so I don't want to take more credit than I get for these. So this is really the tech team. And I think out of that conversation as developing the mission, that there was a lot of pieces that we wanted to include that would have made a mission statement that was a paragraph long. So that idea of trying to capture a lot of those concepts that word appropriate for a mission statement that really get into that, how we do things. And so really trying to capture the education pieces, the funding pieces, the collaboration, information sharing, how we kind of touch on policy. So that was really trying to get into a little bit more of the meat that I think some of the conversations around mission and value and vision got to, but that wasn't the right place to have them. So we were really trying to capture those in these strategies.
Great, thank you. And thank you for the reminder that it was the tech team. They deserve more kudos than ever. So thank you for correcting me on that. Kudos to the tech team. My ask for you before November 12th is you'll get a survey really similar to the one that you had. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes to complete. And I'm really going to encourage you to do it, because that way you'll be weighing in on the work that we did tonight. You'll be reflecting on the strategies that Tom just mentioned from the tech team. And what it will do is it will allow us to have a really different conversation. The 17 of you who took the time to complete the survey gave us a foundation for values that may have taken up our entire meeting time together if we didn't have that. So thank you for that. The place I wanted to end is just on appreciation. You've confirmed your vision. We're close on the mission. You've got your values. Let's wrap up this portion of your agenda with what is one thing you appreciate about this group. So just drop it in your Menti there. What's just one thing that you appreciate? We started the evening with our brains getting that little surge of dopamine, and let's end with it in the same way. All right, someone appreciates everything. That's the right answer. Excellent. Learning together. Thank you. I think the most successful teams do that, are able to learn together and from each other. We have broad funds of knowledge. We share a common goal. Empathy for individuals in need. Thank you for that. I appreciate the challenging viewpoints and a willingness to find a middle ground. We're respectful of each other. We have a willingness to make the community better. Excellent. Let's keep it open for maybe 10 more seconds. We value our perspectives. I appreciate the tech team, yes, and all the work they put in behind the scenes. Thank you for that. Our unsung heroes of the RHC. Wonderful. Okay, well, friends, that wraps up this portion of the agenda. What you can count on from me is I will take all of the thoughts that you shared this evening. I will put them into a 1 to 2, maybe 3 sentence description under each of the values, and you'll have those in survey form to react to before I see you on the 12th. Tom, is there any closing thoughts for me or anything that you did not get from me that you need? And same thing for Emily.
No, I guess I'd look to Emily to see if there's anything I think that's great.
Thank you. Well, I think that this was a successful meeting. I appreciate everyone's engagement. That's a good question. Yeah, I think that we fulfilled what we needed to. So yeah, I look forward to the next discussion on governance. I see Carolyn almost raising your hand. Do you want to add anything?
It's just a question, and it probably is for Leah. I received a cancellation notice for November 12th, and there's no other replacement notice. I wondered if anybody else had that happen or just what.
I actually just emailed Leah because I was like, I don't see that meeting on my calendar. So
I'll make sure to troubleshoot that. We have 2 invites out. One is automatically sent from Tom's Zoom, and the other one I control. And so I'll make sure to figure that out. But please feel free to reach out later this week if you haven't seen that got corrected.
Okay, I just with this short, it'll only be 3 weeks before we meet again. So I just wanted to make sure we were good to go there.
Make sure that it's saying that it's canceling the 20, what it normally would be, and not rescheduling. Does that make sense? Like the email could have said that it's canceling what would have regularly been scheduled for the 4th Wednesday.
I still have that one on my calendar.
Okay. All right, I'll figure that out.
Thank you, Leah. Thanks, Caroline, for raising that so we could all make sure we're here next time. All right. Well, I kind of want to just in case anyone has thoughts, I want to open up the question that Amy asked me for the whole group. Does anyone feel like there's anything left to cover? Did we cover everything? Do people feel like this is a good, like there's some closure on this conversation, or are there any remaining questions or thoughts? Yes, Carolyn.
I think we got to a pretty good place today, and I'm looking forward to the discussion next time when we stitch all of this all together.
Thank you. Danny.
Yeah, I appreciate the conversation. Looking forward to us, finalizing a product. And I'm also thinking about at least us, the voting reps here, we know that Michael Althauser will not be here next year, and there will be a new rep. Maybe it's Joan and it'll be seamless, but maybe there's a new person from Tumwater. And so I'm kind of thinking how do we make sure that this doesn't just stick with the group who happens to be here now, and that it lives on, so that we don't have a group on the RHC next year who's like, we should do some vision and values work.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you both for your input. I completely agree. All right. Are there any final comments for Amy?
Thanks for your hard work.
Compliments? No, just kidding. Leonard, what were you saying?
I was gonna say thanks for your hard work.
Oh, got it. We were on the same page.
That's what you wanted me to say, right? That's what you texted me?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to appreciate, Amy, your thoughtful approach to this.
I agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll offer a compliment as well. I appreciate how you drew us out as a group, because we were all very quiet. Well, most of us were pretty quiet at the start, and you found a way to kind of bring more voices into the conversation, and that is much appreciated.
Thank you, Danny. I'm so embarrassed. I really wasn't fishing for comments. I was trying to make a joke. I'm so sorry.
I know. You're trying to be funny, but we took the bait.
Thank you, but I receive it. All the words went straight to my heart. It's an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Okay. I think the compliments were coming whether you said it or not.
Oh, thank you.
I was getting ready to say some of the same things I'm hearing. And I don't want to embarrass you. I see you turning red, but
I am so embarrassed. Oh my God. It's like a facilitator faux pas. So
it's a consequence of being good at your job.
Well, there you go.
But I wanted to say, kind of similar to what we're hearing, we've been having a really hard time getting through a wall with some of these conversations. And over the course of this experience, you've really, really drawn us out, kind of like Danny was saying. And you've gotten us talking about some things that we didn't really know where to start with. So thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. You did all of the work, all of you. Thank you.
All right, so we'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting. And that brings us to our final item on the agenda, good of the order. Does anyone have anything for good of the order? Tom and then Meg.
Yeah, just one thing that we promised to announce. There's going to be a Thurston County Home Buying Expo at the Lacey Community Center on November 8th from 10 to 4 p.m. So I know the City of Lacey has been really working hard on that in collaboration. The county and City of Olympia has helped as well, but really Lacey taking the lead. So just want to promote, I know there's social media out there, but a Home Buying Expo on November 8th from 10 to 4 at the Lacey Community Center.
Thank you. Meg, go ahead.
Hi, we every year host in partnership with the Thurston County Coroner's Office a community-based memorial service for all of the unclaimed remains of people in Thurston County, and it's called the Day of Remembrance. And it's coming up on this coming Sunday, November 2nd at 2 p.m. at Mills and Mills Funeral Home. We also honor people who've died from suicide in our community and people who have died while experiencing homelessness in the past year since last November when we did the last one. So 2 parts. One, everyone's invited. It's a very moving and beautiful event, and it's usually only about an hour long, and nice music. And number 2, if anybody on this call has names, whether it's street name, first name, whatever, of people who've died while experiencing homelessness in the past year, please feel free to send them to me and we can include them, mention them in the memorial service.
Thank you, Meg. I appreciate that. I will definitely be there. 2 p.m.
Yep, 2 p.m. at Mills and Mills in Tumwater.
Perfect. Thank you. Anything else for good of the order? I have one. Oh wait, Carolyn, did you just come off mute?
No.
Okay. I have one, and it is that we are coming down to the final days of the community health assessment that the county has put out, or the CHA. And if you haven't filled it out yet, we are gonna have it up for, I think, I don't know, maybe about another week or so. And you can, I wish we had a chat, I would put it in the chat, but you can just look up Thurston County Community Health Assessment and take that survey. It'll help. Our Board of Health is actually the group, Public Health put this survey out to understand what the priorities are in the community around health issues. So there are a lot of important questions on there that will kind of guide discussions around what priorities the county has. And we're especially looking, if you could help us with some outreach, we're especially looking for responses from the Hispanic community, men. For some reason, these men in the community don't want to fill out a survey. I see Leonard smiling. I hope you did your survey, Leonard. We also are looking for folks in rural communities. We don't have a lot of responses from Bucota and Yelm and areas like that. So if you know anybody, please remind them to take the survey. We've struggled to get some of the most vulnerable community members to take the survey. Public Health does have some incentives. So they have water bottles, first aid kits, portable chargers, and a couple other really useful items, some magnet clips and things like that. So if you work with participants in the community who might be interested in taking that survey, that would be very much appreciated. And just connect with, you can connect with me, you can connect with Tom to get your hands on some of those incentives if you'd like to hand those out to participants. So that's it. That's the last one I have. Are there any other announcements for good of the order before we wrap up? Alrighty. Well, then that brings us to our last item, which is to adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is November 12th. I saw that invite come in. So we should be good to go there.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Leah. Thanks for handling that so quick. And I look forward to seeing everyone else. It is 5:54 p.m. and we are adjourned.
Bye, everyone. Good to see you, Joan.